Let's talk about being kind with yourself. But a lot of this came from, so two main reasons this came from is that it did seem like last week everyone was having a very hard week, like motherhood wise. People just had, she probably just couldn't find you. Oh. And then I'm sure you guys have all seen the trend. If not, we did it featuring Carly. But it was, I had coffee with my younger self. And so that's kind of what made me think of it, because I can remember when I was young, because I didn't meet my husband until I was 32. So I had a very angsty young period of my life where I was like, I'm never getting married. I'm never having kids. My life is over as I know it. And so like thinking about sitting down and having coffee with myself, like my 25-year-old self, and just being like, hey, we get everything that we wanted. We also lose a lot of things that we took for granted. But I feel like, and most people that I've like talked to about it have been really inspired to like do it for themselves. So if you haven't done it for yourselves, even if you just do it privately in like a note, but it's just like, the first thing is like, I had coffee with myself today. She was on time, or she was 10 minutes early and I was 15 minutes late. And it's like, one of the ones that I read, she said, the younger version of herself saw the screensaver on the older version of herself. And she's like, we have 3 kids. And like, I just like, I got so emotional because I was like, just like thinking about how mean we are to ourselves, especially in our 20s. Like, we are so mean to ourselves. We think hateful things. We think that we're not measuring up. Comparison is the heaviest. And then when you get to your 30s, let me tell you, your 30s are way better than your 20s. And now that I'm in my 40s, I'm just saying, girls, it is so much better, because you give less and less and less care about what everyone around you thinks, even if you can go back to like the high school version of yourself and how much you cared about those people, right? And what they thought about you and what they said about you and who was talking to who and who, all that stuff. And then you like get out of high school and you're like, why did I care about that? Because your world was just this big. And then you get into your 20s and your world is this much bigger. And then you get into your 30s and your world is this much bigger. And then here is when you decide, like, I don't want all these people in my life. Or you're like, wow, some of these people I had in high school are the best friends in my life. That's great. But you start to grow and people have kids and your values change and you do all these different things. Hudson's with Jasmine right there. They're snuggling. But being kind with yourself, I listened to Sally Clarkson's podcast on this, which is also the inspiration for this talk, right? But Sally Clarkson, it's literally the greatest person you'll ever listen to. But she's like my on this earth mother now, because my mom's in heaven. Like, so, and I'm like having a hard time or wanting to go through something. But so she is 70, maybe 72 years old. And she has 4 grown-up kids and she has her grandkids. And she just put out this book, Well Lived. But in October, she read from it, and the title of it is Be Kind to Yourself. And she talks about this time that she was like feeling really bad, like about herself and her life. She had just done a book launch. She had just done a tour. She was talking all this stuff, and it was all these blessings. And she was in this coffee shop just pretty much feeling sorry for herself at 60 whatever years old, right? And one of her kids happens to walk into that coffee shop. And they're like, Mom. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to see you because I was just trying to have some quiet time. And they're like, how are you? And she goes, well, I'm pretty bad. And then she like rants about all of this stuff. And I feel like all of us could have like a rant. Like I had a rant session with my best friend yesterday. But then she said, like, I was just sitting there complaining, and the wisdom of her child said, Mom, do you think you might be really tired from your international flight? And like, Mom, do you think that you might need to like have a good night's sleep? And then maybe like look at all these problems fresh tomorrow. And I think that one of the things that happens, especially when we're in the tiny, tiny human season, and whether we have one kid or we're adding more kids on, is that we literally, in the sheer exhaustion and the lack of sleep, don't know how we're going to do it today. And it seems like other people are always getting it all done. but we don't know what's happening in that dark, like twisty inside. And so the thing that she said was like, complaining doesn't change anything, but there's nothing that a good night's sleep and trying to find peace and quiet in my heart will do. And she's like, and that's different for every person. So peace and quiet for you might be making a really good meal for yourself, or it might be going for a walk in nature. Like for her, she really likes to journal and read the Bible and then go for a walk. Like that's Sally Clarkson's like number one thing. And she has a culture of going for walks in her family. So like when they all get together, they're like, let's go for a walk. It's just like something they think like, let's do. And I mean, we were talking just out here about like the different cultures family. Like in Vin's family, everybody stays at the table after it's cleared and they put the dessert down and they all have coffee. Like it's just what always happens. Not everyone is sitting during dinner because his mom's like doing stuff and people are doing all these different things. But at the end of dinner, everybody's sitting there with coffee having dessert. Usually talking about the good old days. Like that's their... But there's these things that we do in our family. And the other night, my son was really mad because I wouldn't let him watch a movie. And he was like, well, can we at least play a game? And I was like, sure. Yeah, literally like, exasperated. Can we at least play a game? And I was like, we can totally play a game, my dude. Because for the last 2 Christmases, I have specifically, because my kids are 4.5 and 6.5 now, like they can cognitively play games. Between 3 and 4, there's some games that you can play. Sneaky Snacky Squirrel, I highly recommend. Okay?
Reese loves Sneaky Squirrel.
Yeah. I mean, it is.
But also is very upset when others win.
Yes. But you start to learn that. Vincent had his meltdowns, and I said, if you always won, nobody wants to play with you.
I always
It's part of the conversation.
I always tell people she talks so much, like, oh, what does she say? I'm like, oh no, it's not words.
Yeah.
She has a lot to say.
But like, I don't know if you remember like Hi-Ho Cheerio and Chutes and Ladders and Candy Lane, like all of those introductory things, it starts to get really exciting when your kids are like 3. But so we've started to get games, and so now my family is starting to have a culture of games. And he's like, so last night we played this game called and there's a lot of My First games, because there's these grown-up games that you can play. And then you can get the littler version, like the easier version. So it's called, I'm going to slay it. It's not really how you say it, but it's like My First Carcassonne. I don't know what word this is. It might be French, could be Spanish. I have no idea. But it's just tiles and you build little paths. And if you close the path, you get to put your colored person on it. It's like simple stuff. But my kids are like, we're all going to sit around this table and play a game. And I've been seeing in my family like this little culture that we're building of like playing a game. There's also a fun game you can get called, it's 2 pigs and a dice. What is it called? It's 2 pigs. And you have to roll the pigs. And you get points based on how the pigs land. And if the pig, and they're like little tiny pigs and they have dots on them. And if the pig lands on its front 2 feet with its nose, it's a 20-pointer. Because usually they land on their side. But you can put it in your pocket. So if you're like at a restaurant and you want to like kill that time where we've ordered but our food isn't there, those are things that are fun. But when I was sitting there, I was thinking like, wow, this is really filling my family's cup. Like, this is something that they're like, okay, well, if we can't watch a movie and I'll disconnect and do all this stuff, which is my number 1 favorite activity. I would watch a movie every day. Every night I would watch a movie. If I had that sort of space in my life. But I don't. I usually watch a movie when I fold clothes. So like I save folding clothes on the morning that's just me and Honora. I have just Honora every Wednesday morning. And I'm like, I'm going to watch a show that I don't have to like protect my kids from. And I'm going to fold all these clothes. And it's going to be awesome. And I watched Bridges in Madison County yesterday. And I remember my mom watching that being like, I just love this movie. And I mean, I was watching it with her as a teenager. I was like, why do you like this? Like, this is about an affair. I mean, Mom, this is terrible, right? And now I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it. You feel seen here. Okay. The woman is tired. Her teenagers don't talk to her. I was like, everything's clear now. Yeah.
Dr. B, so you watch, it's like you watch the TV with Honora. She's okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real thing too, because I've tried not to do any screen time with him. But there are
And then
moments where
I'm like, what
I
is
can't.
screen time? Like,
I need
could I
something.
just I turn on a documentary, like.
Okay. Let's dive into this. Let's dive into this. Okay. 18 months to 2 years is the time where screen time stops to be as damaging before it. If so, in that zone. The other thing is that she is not watching television. Now she will watch a YouTube of puppies.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now that isn't it. If you have a YouTube of puppies up on the screen and it's not flashing colors and moving backgrounds and really like intensive stimulating music, get it, girl, knock it down. That is negative screen time. But if you want to put on a documentary that is pictures of real life, because FaceTime is not screen time. So they've like wired up kids' heads with EKGs and stuff like that. Like FaceTime does not affect them because it's a real person. So if you're putting and I'm going to throw it right under the bus, if you're putting your kid in front of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, you are overstimulating them. If they're watching Cocomelon, they are way overstimulated. If you watch this show on Prime, and you can check it out, it's called Tumbleleaf, and it's kind of like that claymation speed, and the background stays still. It's the most important part, is that the background doesn't change every 3 seconds. And if you Google like how many times does Mickey Mouse Clubhouse change in the background, it's like every 2 seconds. And so it's just constantly changing your kid's vision perception and making their eyes track all over the place. So that is screen time that can really stress your kid out. But it's also the most engaged they will ever be with a screen. So if I'm watching The Bridges of Madison County, which is what I was watching yesterday, Honora didn't even look at it. She didn't even look at it. She was more concerned with unfolding what I was folding and having me stop to read her this book that has 5 puppies eating at the end of it, which she calls eating Ami, Ami, Ami for whatever reason. And so she's like, puppies, puppies, Ami, 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 Ami. And now she also thinks that there's the wheelbarrow is agua. And so she's like, puppy, agua, puppy, agua. So I have to go to page 2 and page 10. They're the only pages we can look at in the puppy book. I went to the library yesterday and checked out every book with dogs in it. So if you're looking for a book with dogs at Jacksonville Public Library Beaches Branch, they do not exist. They're in my home and I'm going to renew them. But she just wants to look at dogs. So if I need a minute, I will put a YouTube of people's dogs, because these exist, puppies and babies. You can put this in YouTube, and it's just people's from their videos in their phone that somebody has spliced together. And so it's a baby and a puppy laughing, and then it's a bunch of puppies crawling on a person. And so that isn't as stimulating as screen time. So no, the least screens, the better. But also, I would never watch a movie with Honora after dark. Right. Because that's going to make her brain think, the blue light's going to make her, even though I have mine on the dusk setting, which it will redden up your thing. And so my phone is also always pink, is what people say. And I hate the color pink. So I'm like, it's red. But I have red on my phone, so it's always tinted away from the blue light.
Pink,
I hate it.
Pink would be a good color for you.
Yeah, everyone says that. Yeah, I think and I will tell you the day that I hated pink. I asked in 2nd grade. I won't. No, this is just who I am. I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm a challenger. I'm a D on the disc profile. I am here to fight. I am aggressive. Yeah. And so I'm literally called the challenger, in every thing. Even my the ENJP or whatever that thing is called. Everything is I'm ready to go. And I was in 1st or 2nd grade, and I asked the teacher, I was like, why is our bathroom pink and the boys' bathroom blue? And she was like, well, that's because girls like pink. And I said, but I like blue. So I'd like to use the boys' bathroom because I don't care for this color. I probably didn't say it that politely. And she was like, well, you can't go in the boys' room. And I was like, okay. And then, I'm not opening that can of worms right now, just so you know. And she was like, no, you go in pink. Girls like pink. And I said, all girls don't like pink. She goes, all girls really like pink. And I said, I don't. And from that moment, I decided I would not like pink. So here I am, 40 years old, and I'm like, ew, pink. Because inside me, somebody told me I had to. And that, again, this is my personality. And I was raised by 2 chiropractors who swam upstream their whole life. People told me that my parents weren't real doctors in preschool. In preschool, I'm 3 years old and I'm getting bullied for being a chiropractor's kid. And I was like, my parents are real doctors. And I went on I would go on, I bet you got to take medicine. I bet you have to go to the pediatrician and get shots. I bet you have to do all that stuff. And I sold it. But I also didn't have to nap at preschool because I rubbed all the teachers' shoulders.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Yeah, because I didn't want to nap. Yeah, no, I've been bartering my whole life. And
Alex are friends.
yes, I got in so much trouble because I was adjusting the kids in their cots.
Oh my god.
Like,
Oh my god.
I literally was like with sound. No, this is not. This is my first. People are like, when did you do your first adjustment? When I was in chiropractic school, and I was like 3. And then I got really good when I was 16. But we're not going to talk about that. Illegally adjusting. But the first adjustment I ever delivered was at 3 years old. And my mom, they told my mom, they're like, she really needs to stop. And so she's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, but they ask me to. And she was like, and the cots were just that perfect height for just a little. People were like, you're so good. I was like, I've been doing this a long time. Legally for 8 years. Thank you, honey. Thank you.
But I agree. I watch my TV whenever I do laundry, and he doesn't pay attention to it.
He doesn't pay attention to it. And if you're watching something for you, it's not as stimulating.
Yeah.
So I will say I wouldn't be like, hey, let's sit down. I also let my kids watch 90s movies because they also don't move as much. Like, we watched Rockadoodle last night. It's still in the background. And my kids were like, this is a pretty cool movie. I was like, I thought so too. And I was like, next up, Land Before Time. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Is Peppa Pig bad?
yeah.
I just want him to have the accent.
Oh my
That's the only reason
god.
why I want to do it. So I have the
What do
audio
you think
playing.
about Miss Rachel?
but
My mom's
I
always
don't
telling me to
see
put
it.
Miss Rachel on. No.
I don't like Miss Rachel. She's just weird.
She's very, so also Peppa Pig has shown to lead kids to disrespect their parents because she's so sassy.
Yeah, she's pretty
Oh
bad.
my
Yeah,
god.
like she's naughty.
Do you like Bluey?
Bluey moves less. I love Bluey except for the false expectations it puts on parents. Because like,
It goes deep.
Oh my gosh.
Believe it or
Those
not.
are some all-star parents right
yeah,
there.
the parents,
Watch it and be like, Daddy, why don't like
you always play with me. Why don't, like Bingo and Bluey's parents always play with them? And it's just like, because mommy has to work. Bluey is cute. It has some of the, I love the song. I love the characters. Like, I think it's really cute. But it, again, long term, it's giving kids this perception that their parents should stop what they're doing and play with them, which independent play is one of the most important things. But we also have to have our sanity. I don't know how 1800s women did it. But they also could just open their front door and be like, go outside and play in the 10 acres that we own. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like go dig a hole forever. Because if I tell my kids they can dig a hole, they will dig. They dig for an hour, and they make mud, and they cover the whole. Somebody here was telling me about how their kids covered their entire backyard and they were gone for 5 hours. They're like, but my yard is destroyed, and I was like, I think that you got the better end of that deal. But they were like, they dug so deep. Gosh, who was I talking to? They have like those cool like diggers that kids have. They dug so deep they got to the sprinkler pipes. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. I would have thought I got to China. Remember how you used to dig and you thought that you were going to get to China if you dug deep enough? Because of Bugs Bunny. But like Tom and Jerry is terribly violent. That's what we watched. So there's a lot of things where I'm like, I am a crunchy, holistic person in so many ways, but I also eat at a restaurant. So like when people are like so like animalistic, like about things, I don't let that stuff in my house. But if I'm gonna eat at a restaurant, I'm not gonna lose my mind if my kid has a French fry. Like I'm not going to McDonald's. I disagree. I don't do that. But I am like, if I got a pastry from Whole Foods, I know it's not perfect, right? But it's better. And I eat so well all the other time. So this is an example of me being kind to myself, because I was a Nazi with Little Vin, and we still don't do sugar in this family. Hi, baby. I love you so much. I love you. Here you go. You have that also. I'll take it. Never mind. You want to get me the lion? What do you think? She's like, I'm thinking about a lion. I might poop right now. My husband goes, how do you know he's pooping? I'm like, how do you not know they're pooping? Like, there's a face. They're like,
He gets so quiet and like self-entertains for a good 5 minutes, and that's how I know he poops. So as far as self-entertaining goes, because I've been having a really hard time with that, like, because he's just like crawls up my leg nonstop and wants me to hold him nonstop and like sit there and like pass things back and forth with him nonstop. But like I also have a hard time with the cry it out thing.
yeah.
Wait, so like, do I let him cry it out? Like, if I know he's fed and like.
If you're right there and he's just frustrated that you aren't like doing what he wants,
Like, we can be in the same room.
Yeah.
And like 2 feet apart, and if I'm not like sitting there like looking at him,
Yeah.
then he's upset.
You gotta have a balance.
yeah,
Like if you know they're fine.
I think leaving them in a room alone to cry it out is very different than your kid crying and being like, hey man, like I'm washing these dishes and if you're gonna stand at my leg and cry, yeah. So if you can't handle it, just pick them up, and I literally would just like remove the knives and sharp things and just let them have the water. Like I'll sit Honora on the sink and pull the faucet towards her, and she's just totally happy. But what I would tell you is I would put a towel down in a small bowl and put water in it. Or not a bowl because that tips really well, but like a flatter Tupperware container, right? A plastic one. So go to the dollar store and buy some cheap thing and just put water and the measuring cups in it. And he will leave you alone. But you will have a very wet floor. So it's a great thing to do when you need to wash the floor in your kitchen. Like do all your other stuff and just put a basin of water this deep in the measuring cups.
But you think if he's like, because Chris is like, he's gotta like, he can't take every single fry. Because now he like, is not entertaining himself like he used to. And so like, if I'm in the room and he can see me and his diaper's fine and he just ate, just let him be.
Yeah, I would.
If you walk away, like if you allow him to stay there, like will he stop crying after 5 minutes and like go busy himself?
I normally give him 4 or 5 minutes.
So if he's fussing, I think that's one thing. If he's screaming bloody murder, I don't let my kids scream bloody murder. But like the other day, Honora was like, puppy, book. And I was like, Honora, I have to fold these clothes. So I picked her up and I said, I will give you a big hug. I'll give you kisses. I was like, go find a baby. I was like, go find a baby in a blanket and wrap her up. And then that usually gets me like 10 minutes and I'd be doing these things, but she's bored. He's bored. So if you give him water, I promise you, if you give him this water on a towel, he will be happy. And if it's a big enough thing that they can't tip over, that's why I said don't do a bowl, because they tip a bowl over in a second, but it's like a little bit bigger than a shoebox and you have this water in it, they traditionally, and he might tip it over, get a bigger thing. That's what I would say. Or if you had like, he's like too little for like kinetic sand or whatever those things are, or Orbeez, because he'd probably eat them. But if you put like hard beans in, that won't hurt him. Okay, like he could swallow a bean and it won't choke him and it won't hurt him. Like you could put beans in the thing, and they'll use it.
He loves playing with it. We have like shells in our backyard.
Yeah.
And he loves
The beans are going to be everywhere, but you just sweep them up. And you can go get some 99-cent. Yes.
Keep him quiet for 10 minutes.
Yeah. You'll get a break. The other thing that my mother told me, and again, I wish that my mom lived while I had kids because I feel like she had a lot of wisdom. But like, I was a very hard kid, and I would cry, and I was hard. And she said that she fed me, she changed my diaper, I was fine, but I would not stop crying, even when she held me. And she could not handle it. And she's like, I put you in the closet. And I closed the door, and I walked away for 5 minutes because I knew you would be safe. I knew that you were fine, but I couldn't do it. Like, I could not handle it. And that advice has helped me when I'm at a point where I'm just like ripping my hair out. And I'm just like, why? And I'll tell my big kids, I'll look at them in the face and I'll be like, I do not have the capacity for this. I was like, you guys can't fight right now. I was like, I don't ask you this all the time, do I? And they're like, no. I was like, but you have pushed mommy to the breaking point. I am not okay. Okay? It's not your fault, and I love you, but go outside and do not fight with each other. I said, you can turn the hose on. They're like, what? Well, yeah, because water fixes everything. I'm like, you can turn the hose on until I tell you to turn it off, okay? And when I say turn it off, that's it. So fill anything you want with water, and then leave me alone. And I was like, and take your sister and don't let her go in the street.
Water.
Yes, water. So the water and nature fix almost everything.
Yeah, being outside fixes everything, but like if I have to get stuff done inside, then it's just like if we're outside, he's completely fine. He'll be like this the whole time. He won't need me at all. But like some things have to be done inside. You know?
Sometimes in the kitchen, I'll just throw like a handful of rice on the floor.
Yes. Yes.
I can take a Q-tip and it's like this huge, like you probably had 1,000 Q-tips. That could come interchangeable.
You could also go to the dollar store and buy a Kleenex box, and they will empty that thing, and it will give them so much joy.
Yeah.
So much joy. Even if you took all the Kleenexes they took out and put them in a different box, and they could just pull it out like gift paper in a bag.
He loves to just pull things.
Yeah, they just love to pull things through. But he's pretty content with you here, right? He's not like...
But he has other kids to watch. Like when we have the big kids at our house, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's a different kid.
Yeah,
but
maybe
once
he
they're
just
gone,
doesn't know what's going on when his siblings are gone.
yeah. When they're at their mom's, he's like, I think he has withdrawals from them.
Yeah.
Because he's not constantly being stimulated.
Because my stepson's with us every other week, and it's like he's used to him being there, and then like he's like Reese, and like looks for like,
yes.
whole days, like he'll open doors and like look around for Reese.
And it,
He'll crawl in Evan's room looking for me.
and Nora on Wednesday mornings when I don't have the big kids, she's like, Bubba, Sissy, Bubba, Sissy, because they for us we're like, what a break, right? Like this is great. I get this beautiful Wednesday morning, and she's like, where's our family? And then she'll go, Daddy, car, Bubba, Sissy, and I'm like, Daddy's at work, Sissy's at school, Bubba's with Abu Da, and she's like, car. She's like, let's go, and I'm like, no, mommy is got the house is clean. It's gonna stay clean for at least 45 minutes. It's gonna be so great.
Honestly, it is great. Like you just chill and it's like,
Yeah. I mean, Nora went to sleep at 12, and I didn't get the kids back until 2, and I was like, what is my life right now? This is what single lady Bridget felt like, right? And I like got caught up on my laundry, and I got like the counter looks like somebody didn't just throw up on it. Like today, my babysitter's gonna go there, and last week I had to prep for the cleaner to come because I had a cleaner every 2 weeks because that's how I'm kind to myself. Right? She just comes and she just does my floors and bathrooms and kitchen. She just
Someone do the same thing.
Yeah, because the floors are great. The floors is so much. It's totally worth it. And it's not like this thing where it keeps my house clean, but it resets me, and the forcing that I have to get ready for her.
Yeah, it's the kind of
Yeah. Yeah, and so it doesn't become a pit, because my husband and I are both slobs, guys. We are not clean people.